Good evening, folks, or early morning, depending on where you're at. But I doubt there's any Europeans that are going to be listening to us right now because it's 6 a.m. here, and it's probably 5 or 4 in the UK. So I'm only going to be streaming to the Americas, most of which I'm probably watching Pippa right now. But I wanted to get the stream out in order to celebrate the fact that Buzzfeed News is going down because no one else is celebrating because people are like, what is Buzzfeed News? Nobody watches them anymore, right? Which is why they're going bankrupt. I think they got bailed out previously. So this was a failing company that was struggling. And the reason that most people are happy, at least the ones that do care and know about it, is because they are the ones that pushed for the diversity and inclusivity into the current culture, right? So if you don't like what's happening with your comic books, if you don't like what's happening with your video games, if you don't like the fact that companies are belittling you and insulting you, calling you a misogynistic pig for not buying their products, BuzzFeed is the originator. And they're the epicenter of that. Also, they they were funded by ESG bucks, but this is what happens when you rely on ESG bucks. Like, eventually they run out, and you don't have a consumer base in order to support you. So it is what it is. Also, take into account that they were insanely hypocritical. I mean, these people found a sex tape of Hulk Hogan, and they decided that it's a good idea to show it to the public. Now, I do agree that celebrity gossip is a thing. I do agree that people can make a lot of money on celebrity gossip. But there should be a limit of decorum, like a limit of common sense, right? Like, if you find a sex tape with the face of a person, you don't show it to the public, right? It's just like, you can talk that it exists, but especially when it wasn't really that hard to find it. I mean, back then, the internet wasn't really a safe space, right? Like, anyone that wanted to find Hulk Hogan's sex tape could have done so, but if you're an actual for-profit corporation and you want to consider yourself as a feminist outlet, you don't show that, right? But BuzzFeed did, and when asked to take it down, they didn't. But then you had the case of Zoe Quinn, which was also the same thing, right? Like, instead of a sex tape, you had the accusations, you had like a couple of articles written about her, and it was a celebrity scandal, pretty much. And all of a sudden, BuzzFeed was like, no, we can't talk about it. You know, the only reason people talk about a woman's sex life is because they are misogynistic pigs. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a little bit hypocritical. Let's celebrate my second favorite Romanian. Well, Cryptic, who's your first? I'm really curious now. Romanian flag is a hate symbol. So Romanian flag is actually a hate symbol and a love symbol at the same time. There was this video which came out from the US Army, where allegedly they were doing some diversity training, and there was like a huge whiteboard with various hate symbols on it, and you had like Pepe the Frog, you had like a couple of actual neo-Nazi hate symbols, and there was also the Romanian flag, bizarrely enough. I do not know the explanation on why that happened, but it was there. And recently, Blizzard released a pansexual Overwatch champion, right? Pansexual means that he would fuck literally everything. Like, that guy is a walking fuckathon, I think, right? Like, I don't know. I think that's the definition, right? Am I wrong? Like, pansexual means that your sexual preferences, like, go with everything, right? So, including robots, because that's the thing that Blizzard is trying to say, is that that guy will have sex with robots. And it has the Romanian flag on it. It's the red, yellow, and blue. And I'm like, dude, that's not, is it? Like, is my country flag a sexuality now? Romanian flag is the same as that of Chad. The shade of blue is different. Apparently, Romania does have IP trademark on the flag because it was done before. All jokes aside, I don't think like you have IPs on flag and stuff. But I hope Romania and Chad never goes to war with each other because it would be very confusing. Though, the chance of that happening is very unlikely. But yeah, morning Alkai. I didn't expect that Polish people would still be out. Uh, the thing is, the shade of blue from the flag of Chad is a much lighter shade than the Romanian one. A Canadian Romanian woman is the first favorite, but you provide great content. Well, thank you, Cryptic, but I can't compete with Canadian women. I mean, they have certain assets that I don't, but hopefully my video game, when it's out, is going to compete with your woman. Hey V, Sure Fat Otaku is having a meltdown on Twitter, calling Pikami weak for leaving. Well, Sure Fat Otaku probably doesn't understand the corporate environment, right? I mean, we don't really know what happened behind the scenes. So, it could just well be that her company didn't want to remake the contract with her. It could be that she has some issues in her life and just didn't need any of this shit. You have to understand, when you have a person like Pikami, they're probably rich as fuck, right? Like, they're probably millionaires, and they may even think, why am I doing this? Like, if I'm doing this and people give me hate, is it really worth it? Like, I can just retire now, and I will have money for the rest of my life. So, I don't think that Short Fat Otaku has taken this into consideration. Like, not everyone is part of a culture war. Right? Like if I was a billionaire and I had like probably $100 billion in the bank or something like that, the only reason you would still do YouTube at that point is because you like it, right? Like it's like a hobby. Like it stops being a job. You're just doing it in order to entertain people. And if the people you're trying to entertain are being dicks about it, you can just say, well, I don't need to do this anymore. Like there's no reason. Not to mention, like Short Fat Otaku doesn't really understand the situation of Pikami. Like, from what I know, she has been bullied as a teenager for being mixed race. I do not know what that bullying entails, but I do know that bullying in Asia is a lot more of an art form than bullying in the West. And I do think that maybe she does have some actual PTSD from those events. So getting bullied again for trying to play a video game, yeah, it may have actually influenced her more than some would think. Hello, Drakai. Where's the Kai? Like it used to be Kai Drakai, now it's just Drakai. She was planning to leave. She chose to leave. Her company forced her out. So, like, the thing we know about Pikami is that there have been other VTubers like Shy Lily, Kson, and a couple of other high names that allegedly talked to her behind the scenes, and all of them have confirmed the fact that she left due to the bullying over Hogwarts. I mean, unless this is an op, and she's like, well, if I'm going to leave anyway, I may as well blame it on the most toxic people on the internet, the ones that go after female streamers in order to exercise their power and influence. So that is a possibility as well, right? Like she could have just said, well, I'm leaving anyway, but I'm going to blame these people in my way out. Although I don't think so. Like she doesn't seem the type of person to do that. Hello, Roman. Welcome to the show. Short Fat Otaku made one good video a long time ago. I don't know. It's like, I just don't follow the drama. And just because some other content creator has an opinion about something doesn't mean that I need to freak out and be like, oh, well, you're wrong. It is what it is, like if he thinks that she was weak, good on him, like maybe he's going to be strong when controversy eventually comes and hit him as it hits all of us. And then he can show us what strength is as he gets the platform from the internet, like he did have his channel taken down in the past. So I don't know if it's weakness or just like business, because like business is also important. You gotta ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want to make money, or are you doing this because you enjoy doing it and you don't care about money? It's like, well, if you don't care about money, you can not do it, like you can do it on a different platform as well. I mean, it is what it is. But not everything is a culture war, is what I'm saying. Like, some people treat it as a business. And in the place of Pikami, it's definitely a business. I mean, she worked for a corporation, right? Like, she worked for a Japanese company, which probably told her it's time to leave. I think Short Fat Otaku is malding because a lot of people called his take on Bud Light scandal bad and missing a lot of points. I haven't watched Short Fat Otaku's take on Bud Light, but like, You gotta understand, you know, this is a grassroots movement. Like, he can scream into the ether all he wants about, oh well, this is not ethical, this is not ideologically. People just don't buy the fucking beer, and there's nothing you can do about it. There is no bank that is deplatforming Bud Light. There is no, carrying company that wants to stop doing business with them and transport their beers to the supermarket. There are no supermarkets that are refusing to put Bud Light's beer on the shelves, right? Like if a person wants to buy Bud Light, they can. Like, that's the whole thing. And the boycott is grassroots, right? Like, people just had enough. It's literally what it is. There's nothing else you can talk about it. I don't know what you can say. You know, call people bigots because they don't buy the beer, I guess. All right. Is that going to sell more beer? No. Fine. I don't even know, like, what else you can talk about this. It's not a cancellation. Yeah, exactly. Right? Like when Alex Jones got canceled, it's not that his subscribers left. Is that all of the social media the websites, the main ones, decided to kick him off the platform. So now he finds himself with the inability of reaching an audience because he can't broadcast on the mainstream news networks. The news, as in social media networks, right? So that's what a cancellation looks like. And then you can talk about ideology, because you can, did Facebook did the correct thing by banning him? Is it really proper? Blah, blah, blah. Then you can talk about ideology. But in this particular event, you can't, because it's like individual people just deciding not to buy the beer. And you're not going to convince someone, it's like, hey, you're being a bigot because you don't drink Bud Light. Like, fuck off. I mean, by this logic, right, I could have a transgender person advertising my channel, right? So I pay a trans person to make an ad for my channel that's like 30 seconds long, and then I would say, well, everyone that doesn't watch me and doesn't give me super chats is a fucking bigot. Right? Like, is this how we do marketing now? Because apparently, if that is the case, it's very easy. Like it doesn't require any brain power. It doesn't require any, inventivity. It's just like, hire a trans person, you pay the money, and then they do an ad. And there you go. Bud Light is terrible anyway. People are realizing they are better off. I have no idea how it tastes. Like, again, I know the brand, because even here in Romania, we heard about it, but I have no idea, like, how it actually tastes. I assume it tastes like light beer, which is awful anyway. Hello, CGR. Welcome to the show. Selling right-wing beer for $30 a six-pack while grifting off Mulvaney is also very LGBT. But, like, people can do what they want to do with the money. Like, you have to understand, like, hate purchasing is a thing, right? So, I remember back in the day, they had, like, this thing in London where they created the Donald Trump blimp, right? So, like, they had, like, this huge balloon in the shape of Donald Trump in underwear, right? And the whole thing was because Donald Trump was coming to the UK in order to talk to them about Brexit. And Donald Trump was like, well, if you guys want to leave the European Union, we can give you a really good deal, right? Like, we can get you in the US trade zone and you can do free trade with us and we won't set any tariffs. Like it was in the British national interest to have that deal. But because at the time the conversation of Brexit was happening, the politicians, didn't want the public to know that there's another solution. And they encouraged, like, this idea of mocking Donald Trump for being racist, sexist, bigoted, blah, blah, blah. So they had, like, this massive blimp with Donald Trump. Now, of course, after Trump didn't get reelected, the deal was off. Like, Joe Biden didn't have the same interest in that as Trump, which is why the UK is struggling right now finding another trade market. But basically, what ended up happening is that, like, some people after the event did a GoFundMe and they bought a balloon in the image of the mayor of London, right, Sadiq Khan. And I think that they got like 50,000 pounds, like almost 100,000 pounds on, almost $70,000 on GoFundMe, right? Like that is hate purchasing. That is literally hate buying, right? Like it's for an ideological reason that people paid money, but they paid money in order to show the middle finger to the ones that were mocking and ridiculing the American president. So my point is that hate purchasing exists, right? Like Bud Light used to make another commercial back in the day. If you go on YouTube, you'll find it. It shows the horses going through America and then stopping where the 9/11 site happened. You know, like they're stopping or in front of New York. Sorry, they're stopping in front of where the two twin buildings were, and all the horses just kneel, right? Like they're showing like respect and they're like commemorating the loss. And I had the subscriber tell me, it's like when my mother saw that commercial, even though like she never drinks beer, she got up, went to the fridge, and took a Bud Light, right? Like, because that was a powerful thing. Like you're using emotions, but like it's in a positive way. Like it's not divisive. It's not you know, in a negative light. It can't be perceived as such. But you're using emotion to sell a product, which is fine, right? Like this is why people are spending like $30 on right wing beer or whatever. Thank you, Zephyr, for becoming a member. But yeah, so no, like I don't think it's cringe if a person spends a lot of money on an upcoming company, because like if you're sick and tired of all these corporations, you need to create alternatives for them. Like look at Patreon. Patreon is the perfect example, right? So Patreon goes up, starts deplatforming people for no fucking reason. Like Patreon is the middleman, right? Like they just take money from your subscribers and gives it to you. Like Patreon does not produce wealth. But they were acting like they're your mommy giving you allowance. And they started harassing artists. They started harassing political commentators. They started going after people for no fucking reasons. Their terms of service were very bendy. Like one day they would say something, the next day they would say it's not okay. So eventually Subscribestar happens. And once they have competition, they calm the fuck down. Now, like you don't really hear Patreon deplatforming people now, right? Because you have Subscribestar. So, yeah, I mean, the competition is what is going to get these companies to shut the fuck up. I only drink craft beer made by the local guttermen in the Everglades. But there are people like that, right? Like, there are people that will say, well, I drink this beer because it's made in my town. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Like, you don't have to justify as a consumer why do you spend money on a product. I mean, sometimes you do, though, because if the company spits on you, you know, like it would raise an interesting question. Like, if you go to the supermarket and the lady looks at you and goes like, oh, you disgusting, misogynist pig, right? Then people will wonder, like, why do you keep going there? What is wrong with you? Why do you, why do you not take your business elsewhere? But even then, you don't have to justify. Like, if maybe you're into that. Maybe you like seeing the cashier going like, "Oh, you disgusting, misogynist, vile pig, you." Right? If you enjoy that, then yeah, sure. I drink local beer. Yeah, I mean, there are people who do that. People may not remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. I mean, that's true. You know, like the Gillette thing, I still don't buy Gillette razors. And I don't even remember why, but like if I see them in the supermarket, I just avoid them. So, it is what it is. Alright, let me see if I can talk about. Alright, so apparently the blue check marks are being taken away from people. This was very omoshiroi. And what I love the most, it's like, look, this is the take, which shows why Buzzfeed, why Buzzfeed has actually gone bankrupt, right? Like, you got this lady, which apparently freelance journalist. I work at New York Times, BuzzFeed News. Well, I don't think you work at BuzzFeed News anymore, lady. Elon thinks it's a funny joke. As a former verified account who lost their blue checkmark, I know how dangerous this really is. People are going to die. Dangerous is the new word for problematic, right? But I love the idea. I mean, it costs $7 to get a blue check mark. That's it. Just $7. And you're telling me that you don't pay $7 to save your life? Yeah, dangerous. Julie, what are you doing, Julie? Julie, it is unacceptable. They used to pay, from my understanding, up to $15,000 for the blue check mark. Again, I mentioned this before, but the blue check mark is actually very efficient if you are a person that's into social media, right? So if you're a journalist, blogger, content creator, the blue check mark is essential because it made you stand out. It gave you priority in search. And it also was a symbol of status, like a symbol of power. Like, people would notice you. They would take you seriously. And also, more importantly, you have like another window where you can talk with other blue check marks. So let's say I want to schedule an interview, right? I want to interview the quartering on my channel. Now, if I want to do that, it's very difficult because like the quartering is probably getting hundreds of emails from fans every day. But if I have a check mark, like, my message will be placed on the top so he can actually see me and then he can actually do the interview. Now, because of that, there were a lot of people that were willing to pay up to $15,000 for the check mark. Now, of course, you know, they don't tell that, even though they used to pay it under the fucking table. And they're upset. Like, imagine if you pay $15,000 and then other people can get it for $7,000. Like, of course that's going to enrage you. It's unquestionable that's going to happen. So yeah, they're livid about it. They're absolutely livid because, again, they can pay $7 for it. But like, the problem isn't the fact that they want the check mark. The problem is that they want the prestige, and not to mention the check mark, right? Like, it's not even a verification badge anymore because they're talking, oh my god, like, my verification badge. Oh, there's people that are going to impersonate me. First of all, pay the $7, right? Like, secondly, there were people like myself who have a YouTube channel who did have people impersonating me, right? No one cares. No one cares, you know? And then there's other people with less engagement than me, less subscribers than me, less views than me, but because they got a job as a freelancer at Buzzfeed News or God knows where the fuck. Oh, they matter. Oh, they matter. And the heaven forbid someone impersonates them. And you have right-wingers, like there were right-wingers which were celebrities and stuff, and they didn't get the verification badge. Like, it's so annoying. God. If you make your identity, then you shouldn't have it. Oh, that is so good. To be real, blue checkmark only had value because of scarcity. Yeah, that is true, right? I mean, it still kind of does now. It's not the same, of course. But it is what it is. So they're very upset, and I love the fact that they're making fun. Oh my god, you paid for Twitter. Oh my, yeah, sure, I fucking pay for a platform that I want to use. I got nothing against paying for Twitter. Absolutely fucking nothing. Like, first of all, I get more money from paying for Twitter because it's exposure, and you know, like, it's literally what I do as a job. Like, as a content creator, I get more money in return for the $7 that I spent. But secondly, if Elon Musk is going to give me a platform that I can use, sure, why not? Why wouldn't I pay to support it? How is it different than giving a super chat? How is it? There's no difference in it. You like what you support, right? Gold checkmark? Maybe when I start my video gaming company, I'll get a gold checkmark for it. But still, right? Like, think about it. It's hilarious because Twitter is the same as old Twitter, except leftists are upset. Like, the same rules apply. Actually, you know what? That's not correct. My bad. We don't have the same rules anymore. Because now, apparently, you can misgender trans people on Twitter. So there was an article. Let me see if I have it. It scared a lot of activists, like, they're really scared about this. They're very concerned. Pink News, look. Elon Musk's Twitter rolls back policy protecting trans users from being misgendered and dead naming. So now they're vulnerable to the necromantic arts. The necromancers, they can use Twitter and they can hurt innocent Americans by using the dead naming, by bringing back the names from the dead. I wonder, like, okay, so first of all, these things weren't in place before 2018, I guess, and even on YouTube. Like, you can still misgender and dead name, I think, even on YouTube. I just choose not to do it, because, like, I don't feel the need to, but, like, if someone was rude to me in my face, right, like, if someone was insulting me, like, that would be a tool in my toolbox that I could use to insult back, you know, is what I'm saying. But yes, the 4chan black magic can be... But, the thing is, you do realize there's a mute and block button, right? Like if I was a trans person, and there would be people like... Hey, another example, right? Like, let's say I have an alias. Like, I'm a YouTuber, and I don't want people using my real name online. You know, this is not because, people don't know my name. Like, it's very easy to find out. But, like, maybe I just don't want to have it. You know, like, it ruins the image of the content creator that I'm trying to set up. So, if I see someone, like, using my name to piss me off, I will just block them, mute them. Like, they're not options, right? It is also interesting that, for example, you can't use necromancy, fine, but they can call you cis. It's like, what if I don't want to be called cis? Because cis is a slur. And it is, right? Like, name me one example where the word cis is used in a positive way. Like, every single time you use, like, I hear the word cisgender or cis being used, I hear it in a negative light. So, okay, well, it's a slur. I want to be called something else. I want to be called a person who identifies, right? Because that's how they do it. They create, like, a long-ass list. Like, person who identifies as the gender they were assigned at birth. Like, that's how you should refer to me. You should never refer to me as cis. And anyone that should be banned, right? Like, can we have these rules? Because, like, I'm fine. You know, you get to have your rules, but we get to have ours. And then, like, we live in a society of rules that is civilized, you know, like, morally righteous. It is a slur, right? And I also don't want to be called white person. I want to be called person of light. Because I have a light skin color. Again, like, whenever I hear white people, that's also a slur. I never hear white people used in a positive manner. Every single time it's used in a negative or pejorative sense. So I want to be called person of light from now on. Or person of non-color. Like, that's another interesting thing. Did you notice how, like, they create, like, this category in order just to avoid saying, like, non-white person? Because, like, when they say people of color, they literally mean everything else besides white. Right? Like, is there another category of people that's not neither white nor person of color? The answer is no. So, like, what they're doing is, like, they're just saying, well, everything that's not white. The taste of your own medicine. Yes, literally. Like, they always make these things, right? Like, where they remove one word that's simple to pronounce and flows well in a conversation, and they replace it with a verbal diarrhea that no one wants to use, and it sounds ridiculous when you use it. I think it's like a fucking humiliation ritual, honestly. Right? So, like, they would basically remove, I don't know, illegal immigrant, right? Like, it's something that you say with two words, bam. But, like, no, like, person who is in another country without documents, you know, like something like that. And it's like, well, who uses that in a normal conversation? I mentioned 1984 earlier. The removal word is part of it too. Every useful word gets replaced with person with trait. It's not even that they do like person with trait. Like, sometimes they replace the words with something so fucking cringe that, like, no one wants to use it in a conversation. Like, even birthing people. Like, who uses birthing people in a normal conversation? Imagine going to your mother and say, happy birthing person's day. You know, you'd get slapped. I mean, it's no wonder that Anna Kasparian finally freaked out. And she's, like, using the word fuck 5 times every time per second square. She's had enough. Like when Anna Kasparian has enough, you gotta wonder. It's like maybe we went a little bit too far. Not a lot, but just a little bit. This is actually worth trying. Just saying that. Well, no, because you can't really try this, right? Like it has to have an institutional push. But like if you actually manage to get control of Twitter's trust and safety, right? And at the Twitter's trust and safety, you say, all right, well, we're not going to allow people to use the word cis anymore, right? And you just ban the word, and everyone that says it gets banned. Well, yeah, then they won't like it. Then they will start freaking out. And I would laugh, because I would be like, well, this is what you're doing to us on a daily fucking basis. You take words from the English language that we're not supposed to use, and then you just unilaterally decide that we're not going to. You use the power of institutions in order to compel us to say these things. And then when we actually say them, it looks ridiculous. Right, one second. Oh god, was just having to tell my artist that I will be in 30 minutes. But yeah, just random conversation for the rules. They know, man. Like, see, the problem is that a lot of people believe that what social justice activists do is entirely genuine, and what they say on the surface is actually what they mean. But they're very aware, like the power that they have, right? Like for example. I remember playing League of Legends, right? And I was having a spat with a fellow player. And at the one point, the person types N, types Y, types G, types another G, types an E, and I'm like, God, give me strength. God, give me power over this human being. Type the last letter. Please, God, let him type the and he presses the R. And I'm like, yes, I feel empowered. 300 years of slavery has led to this, so that I can now have power over this other human, and I can report him to the Trust and Safety Council, and he will get banned. And then he types IA. And I'm like, I never felt so depowered in my entire life. Like, he actually spelled Nigeria. And I'm like, I can't ban him for this. I have been robbed. The power invested into me by the American academia, by the woke intelligentsia, has been taken away, stripped with 2 letters. Right? So basically, don't type that shit in my chat, I will ban you. Yeah, it's not even the virtue, right? Like, it's not even the virtue. It's literally the fact that you know that there is a system in place where if someone says the word, you can literally take away their account from them, right? Like it is a system of power created for abuse. Like you don't have to be offended by that. You don't have to be black. You don't have. The moment someone says it, you can just literally take away their ability to play the game by filing a report. You move the mouse, do a right click, and there you fucking go. Right? So, the social justice activist is very aware of this. Like, they are aware that there is a power structure which is dealt to help people like them gain power over other human beings. They don't care about offense. They don't care about, oh, well, this is problematic. No. They just want to have power over other people. If tomorrow in society you would have Islam, right? And you have, like, Muslims coming over, imposing Sharia law, deciding that this is the way society gets to be run. All of the social justice activists would become Muslims. Over fucking night. They wouldn't even care. Now there's a different ideology, but they would then shame people. It's like, oh, well, this person isn't holding Ramadan properly. Oh, I saw this person drinking alcohol. Oh, this person said such and such about Muhammad. Right? Like, there are individuals in society which are very weak, contribute very little, but they enjoy having power over other people. So they latch on to any ideology. It doesn't matter. It just has to be like an ideology that allows to moralize and to feel virtuous, right? It can be religion. It can be socialism. It can be whatever the fuck. You know, it can be veganism. Just an ideology which allows you to be perceived as more virtuous than other human beings. And then once they become members of that ideology, they start moral busybody. I was banned from writing Negro in random Spanish off topic. There were Japanese people that got banned for saying Nigero, which means run away. That happened in Overwatch. Yeah, like, it's also why a lot of Japanese VTubers were getting banned. It's because YouTube functions based on bots, and the bot tries to understand what you're saying. So basically, they would say those words, and the bot misinterpreted. Like, for example, if I try to say this, right? Like, I cannot, and I say, I'm not going to say it because we'll get the video flag. But when I say it, the bot understands it as the C word. So the bot thinks that I have a slur. That is what it is, you know, I'm being oppressed. What can I say? Midwest Finest managed to see a couple of clips from my video game. What do you think, Midwest Finest? Is it a good-looking game? Take into account it's still in prototype mode. Like, the maps are going to be upscaled in resolution. You're going to have ray tracing. I'm not even kidding. Like, I told my publisher, like, I'm having ray tracing in my game. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's going to be there. V, don't put something in your game just for the sake of it, because then you'll have to support it. Oh, I need to do some. Yes, you need to do support for the game. Fuck. Okay, no ray tracing. I will try to release a trailer for it at the end of next month if everything goes smoothly. But yeah, ray tracing. Hey, look, there are rays in the games, and someone need to trace them. All right. Well, the thing is, like, I could show people the things that I'm making, but it's so fucking annoying, right? Like, you show oh, it cleared distrust and safety. The thing is, like, when you show people the game you're making when it's not done, they don't understand it's a work in progress, because they literally think about the AAA companies, and the AAA companies literally do that. Like, they will show the actual end game product, and they claim that it's a work in progress. So, for example, the beta, right? What you saw in Diablo 4 is most likely going to be what's in the actual end game. Like, I don't think, like, the beta is actually for them trying to improve the gameplay or anything like that. It's just like, it's a demo, right? So basically, if I show people the game in this stage, they will literally think that it's going to look like that in the end. Like, I even showed on Twitter a little bit of a teaser, and people were like, oh my god, it looks like RPG Maker. And I said, no, it doesn't. Like, I'm just using the assets from RPG Maker in order to create mock-up maps so that an actual artist can come and draw over them. And they're going to look like a 2K game. It's going to look great. But people don't understand that, right? So, like, what you need to do is, like, you need to actually wait for the final product. And once the final product comes up, well, then you can... AAA don't show their game. They make a completely different build. Oh yeah, they do that as well. But by the way, like, doing a completely different build is not necessarily a bad thing if you actually want the end game to look the same. So, for example, many indie game developers, they fake the trailer. So what that means is, like, you don't have the game engine. The game doesn't exist anymore. But in order to market it and get crowdfunding, you run something in a video game editor, right? Like you can do that, basically. You can trick it. Which is fine if the end game product at least tries and manages to look similar to the thing that you mocked up. I don't know if that actually... Yeah, but, like, if you say work in progress, no one understands. Like, there's going to be one autist that goes, it's like, oh my god, like, look at this texture. This texture clips over the window. Clearly unprofessional. And I'm like, motherfucker, it's a work in progress. Like, it's kind of like taking someone and you show them the bread while it's in the oven, right? And it's just like the dough. And the person's going, well, that doesn't look like bread. I mean, that's disgusting. Why would you make bread like that? And it's like, it's a fucking progress. The E3 build will be different from the final product. Yeah, but, like, with the AAA is usually different, right? Like, they make it look a lot better. In the case of indie games, usually it's the opposite. Like, they look worse when they're being presented than in the final product. Yeah, Watch Dogs is a perfect example. Like they showed such a gorgeous and amazing trailer, and then when you actually play the game, it's shit. And it's a completely different build, and none of the things from the trailer were actually in the game. I get it, you know. And what's interesting is that you had an army of soy boys and shills like defending that practice. It's like, well, it says it's like it's work in progress, and like, yeah, but when you say work in progress, you think that the actual progress exists. You think that the game is actually going to progress from the trailer. So if anything, it should look better. Aliens, Colonial Marines, yeah, that's another example. Blasphemous was awesome. I have to check out the trailer. Blasphemous was really nice. The only thing that I didn't like was that it was so short. So Blasphemous is, I don't know, like finishable in 2, maybe 3 hours. But yeah, it was really great. I liked it. I didn't like the fact that they changed the ending, right? So like the original ending was inspired by Catholicism, and it did show that like mankind was being punished by God for doing blasphemy. Like that's why it's even called blasphemous. But in the second part, like the second ending that they did is actually, well, no, the God is an eldritch horror and it feeds on mankind's suffering, so it makes mankind suffer. And I was like, well, yeah, but like that you remove the Catholicism from it, right? Like in the original one, it was God is upset, right, on humanity because of the sins that they committed, and in order for the sins to be cleansed, you're the penitent one, and you have to travel this long journey, this path of suffering, and only by sacrificing yourself do you wash away the sin of mankind, right? So it was like a Catholic, yeah, like a Catholic interpretation, and it was very brutal. Obviously, it had its own spin on it, but I like that, and they completely ruined with the other ending with the DLC. Yeah, they released a DLC which retcons the actual ending, and it's actually, God is just this evil entity, and they hate mankind, right? Like it's not necessarily that they hate mankind, but they feed on mankind's suffering. So they're sadistic in a way, right? Like they're trying to make mankind suffer so that it is for its own enjoyment, and I didn't like that. I think you mean Catholic mambo jumbo. No. It's the interpretation. Okay, so a lot of people, when talking about religion, they're talking about like the interpretation that Catholics have on religion now. All right, that doesn't correlate with what I'm trying to say. In the past, like Catholicism in the year 1400 had a completely different interpretation than the one we have now, even though it's the same religion. But like over the course of time, it's not necessarily that the practices or the rituals have changed, but the way people would interpret them and the way people behaved is different. Like, for example, in Catholicism, right? Recently, the Pope comes up and he talks about how you can be an atheist and you can go to heaven, or, priests should be more tolerant towards LGBT people. Imagine Catholicism in 1400 and how they would view the Pope for saying that, right? Like, it's what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at the previous, like the old Catholic mythos, and some of the things that they believe, like they did create, for example, an offshot, and they were I don't know if they were actually branding as heretics or not, but there was the idea that the human body is evil and the spirit is good, right? So you can reach salvation by punishing your body. And you had like these people that would whip themselves. They would subject themselves to pilgrimages that were very difficult to endure. The idea that only through suffering you can reach the gates of heaven. And there are like biblical quotes and reasons why certain people would draw that conclusion. I don't think they were the Jesuits. Maybe they were. I don't know. But like basically, like you still have today. Like recently, there's a ritual in I think it's Brazil. I may be wrong, but there's a ritual in South America where you have people crucifying themselves, and it's very gruesome, right? But like they basically want to experience the same hardship and suffering that Jesus Christ experienced so that they can be saved from sin. And you have like people literally being nailed to a cross. Well, thank you for watching so far, though. I'm only going to be here for 15 more minutes, so. But yeah, so if you want a religious game playing that Jesus fighting game, there is a game called Fist of Jesus. And in Fist of Jesus, Jesus performs the miracle to awaken the dead, but unfortunately he awakens zombies. Let me see if I can find that. Interestingly, how if you make the Muhammad DLC, it will get banned. Oh look, PewDiePie talked about it. Oh, here we go. Why is there no sound to it though?
Lázaro, levántate y anda.
Fist of Jesus.
Yeah, it's an old game. I think it came out in 2016, 8 years ago. Right, it came out 8 years ago. And by the way, at the time it was kind of edgy. Now no one would care. Yeah, that's, you know, like the Foot of Muhammad will never make it into DLC. It would get cancelled, so. But yeah, no, like the thing with the people crucifying themselves, like that is true. And like what I'm trying to get with this is that there are different interpretation of the same religion in different parts around the world and different time periods. So like the Christianity we have now is not the Christianity that our parents grew up with. It's not the Christianity that people in Africa have. It's not the same Christianity that you're going to find in like the most rural parts of Mexico. And even in the same denomination, like you don't even have to like for example Night of the Dead, right? Like they celebrate that in Mexico, right? Like it would be viewed as complete heresy by the Orthodox Church if people started dressing themselves and you know, like painting their face like that. Halloween is another example. Like Halloween is considered heresy by the Orthodox Church here. Like every single fucking year, they go, it's like, all the wordings of the Halloween. And one year, you had into this nightclub, which didn't follow the fire safety regulations. They had an underground concert, and it caught fire. Was a huge scandal in Romania because many people died. And the Orthodox Church comes out and go like, oh, see, we warned you about Halloween. Like, this is what happens when you celebrate the Satan's holiday. And I'm like, you do realize this is a massive PR disaster for you now. You know, like you're basically like milking a strategy for political points, but you're not doing it like the Americans. Like the Americans have a little bit more tact. Thank you for the $2, Angle626. Appreciate it. Did you hear that the Twitters now moved to persecute a game called Unrecord? It's a tactical FPS that is framed in the perspective of a police body cam and looks insanely realistic. Yeah, I heard about that. I don't know, like literally the same argument that the right-wingers were making about video games cause violence, right? And they will say, well, yeah, but like it desensitizes people from violence. And I'm like, motherfucker, you know, the news desensitizes people from violence. And I see like violence on television. It's not by gamers, and I like very rarely. If you look at on Twitter, something coming up from a neighborhood like a shooting or something, they don't look like gamers to me, right? Like those people seem to have other activities in mind rather than playing video games. If anything, you would go after rap music first and foremost. Almost all of them, you know, like they probably listen to that genre. If you literally think that art, because I don't think that, but if you think that art influences people's behavior to that extent, you would go after rap music first. If you don't talk about rap music, I'm not interested in listening what else you have to say. Because that should be like the cornerstone, the pillar stone. Like when you have a music with lyrics, and obviously not all rap music, right? But the one that has like criminal elements in it, you know, or disrespects the police just because they're trying to crack down on crime, okay, fine. Well, that is the thing you should start with. Trainwreck TV literally turns into the modern Jack Thompson, but without the lawyer background. Well, you know, like the thing with Jack Thompson is very misinterpreted because Jack Thompson didn't actually want to take your video games away. Jack Thompson just wanted so that kids don't get access to video games. So Jack Thompson was basically saying, yeah, like GTA should have an age rating and kids shouldn't be able to buy it. And I'm like, but that's fucking reasonable. Although, even then, you know, like, I don't think that violence is going to affect my child. Because I grew up with horror movies, like, I really loved them. I grew up with Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. Like, I think I was 7 when I watched, like, my first slasher film. And I was fine. You know, like, at the age of 7, I fucking understood the difference between reality and fiction. Like, I completely understood, yeah, you know, like, this is a movie. It's not like, I mean, I was watching Tom and Jerry for fuck's sakes when I was 5, you know, and I saw like, oh, look, Tom is throwing down a bowling ball on people's heads. It's like, I'm not going to do that, because that's fiction, that's cartoon, it's not real. I mean, you know, like, if that wasn't the case, you'd have kids just jumping off places and pretending to be Superman. And sure, you know, like, you may have like a couple of kids that are mentally deficient and they genuinely think that they can fly and they will try to actually reproduce that in real life. Fine. But that's the parents' fault. Like, if you know your child is at the level where they cannot understand fact from fiction, then don't let them watch TV. Violence is usually committed by people who are ideologically captured or criminals. Yeah. I mean, pretty much. Like, it has nothing to do with video games. I do not think that you have, like, you would see rich people doing it, right? Like, you would see a person that's wealthy, well off, like Bill Gates' child or something like that, and they would go out committing violence and just because they saw it in a video game. It's like, well, why are you doing this? Well, because I played the video game and I liked it. Have you seen how young people in America are doing crimes? They all have video games and no supervision. Yeah, but I don't think it's because of the video games. Like, because like there have been criminals before video games. And before that, they were blaming it on violent television. And before violent television, they were blaming it on violent literature. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, Shakespeare was controversial at some point, right? And you would also blame it on theaters. And like, the people always try to find a scapegoat. Like, it's like, okay, well, who's to blame for this? It's never, like, the parents, the culture for not cracking down harder on crime. I mean, crime is very simple to solve. There's no if or buts. If you're soft on crime, you get crime. If you're hard on crime, you get less crime. It's literally that fucking simple. Chicago has fallen. Well, when you have, like, a looting taking place, right? And the mayor is like, well, I can't condone looting, but we have to be compassionate about the people that loot. I'm like, well, if I was a business person, I would look elsewhere. No, unironically, if I was a business person, I would already look like, okay, how can I move away from Chicago? Like, especially if you're a store owner or something. I'm like, all right, well, I need to sell my business and either do something else, like start a security company. Like, a private security company would probably do wonders in Chicago right now. Like, that is what you can invest in. Like, here's a peak investment opportunity. By the way, it's not, because I have to say this for legal reasons, right? Don't do what I say. But if I personally, if I was in Chicago, I would start a private security company, right? It would be something affordable, like for the average Joe to be able to afford. So I would have to look at like what's the easiest way to do it, like what is the minimum training required, and then you like just you have a store which is getting a lot of looters or whatnot, and they hire like 2 of your guys for security. You'd have to look at the regulations, like how you can make it so that they can have guns and stuff like that, right? Because like if it's a private business, then you get a lot more leeway. And they literally sit there like with weapons in hands. They do nothing. They just sit there. And I guarantee to you, there's going to be no looting. Because they don't even have to use the guns. Like, if you're a looter, you're going to do risk assessment, and it's like, I'm not going to go to the store that has people with guns in front. No, I'm going to go to the other one that doesn't. You're going to make a lot of fucking money with that. I blame my parents for my level of violence if I ever lose it, and then when I get caught, I'll sing I Can Change from the South Park movie. Yeah, well, that is also a problem that they don't want to talk about. All American parents put a phone in their kids' fans and go Pikachu face when the kid develops the zirze pronouns. Well, sometimes it can happen at school, but yeah. No way, private security only makes people in peaceful, wealthy areas. If you have actually take huge risks, like in Chicago, you'd lose all your money. Well, it depends. It depends how much you're investing. It depends the prices that you're making. There were, like, for example, a couple of instances. I think it was in Baltimore. They had, like, this gas station, which was getting robbed every single day. So eventually, the store owner hired private security, and it was, like, 2 guys with weapons, and they were walking around. Like, that's not it, right? Like, they were patrolling. They were doing nothing. And all of a sudden, the looting magically went away. And it's not because of, like, oh, it only works in wealthy areas. No, because the criminal is a intelligent person, too. And they're going to be like, okay, there's probably thousands of gas stations in the area. I don't have to go to this one, right? Like, I can just go to another that doesn't have the security. Now, of course, if every single gas station has security, which is unlikely, then they may try something out of desperation. But if you're like, no, like this gas station is the only one in the neighborhood which has security, which probably would be, then, well, it is what it is. I blame Eminem. He asked if I like violence in the 90s, and I've never recovered. Black security guards, roof Koreans, maybe. Well, the thing is, like, you'd have to vet them, right? Like, they would have to be people that you trust, not to actually be the problem. Because it would only take one situation where the people you hired end up robbing the place that they're supposed to protect, and then your entire brand goes to the shitter. You're going to pay wages to guys doing nothing to sell some gas station snacks? No, they're not selling shit. They're just patrolling, right? Like, they're literally just staying there. And the gas store owner pays you, right? And you take the money that the gas store owner pays you, and you share it with the guys that you hired. It's how private security works. You would be surprised about how many desperate people will walk towards a person with a rifle in an attempt to take the rifle. Well, I don't know what the laws in Chicago are, but I'm pretty sure if someone tries to take your rifle, that's a death threat. Like, you at that point, you have the right to self-defend. It happened to me while working, armed security, and both times were homeless dudes. One drunk and one crazy. Well, yeah, but as I mentioned, like, at that point, there is the ability to defend yourself. Like, if someone tries to take your gun, your life is in danger. I don't think, like, any judge would see it any other way. If someone tries to snatch the weapon away from you, then you don't know what they're going to do with it. Like, if you don't have the right to defend yourself then, like, your country has no self-defense. Not to mention, like, cheap security is gangs. Like, isn't that like what gangsters do as their bread and butter? But the idea would be you don't shake down people, right? Like, you don't do shakedowns or anything like that. You just have like a number on the internet that people can call, and you can talk like in any other business. Like, you don't go to the place like, wouldn't it be bad if something were to happen? No, you're like, okay, well, I'm on Craigslist. You can find me. But anyway, right. Going to go make my main videos now. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it was entertaining, and I can hardly wait to talk about the Buzzfeed news subword on my channel and show you guys some more information that came out. So talk to you guys later.